Yeah, let me start by saying it was not an inside job. It was not the Bush family. It was not the Al Saud family. It was not the space aliens or the lizard people or the Jews. It was Al Qaeda. Number one.
Were they capable of that, Al Qaeda?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay.
Number two, the CIA was the guilty party here because the CIA did know that the hijackers were in the United States. The CIA didn't tell the FBI. Now remember, the CIA can only operate overseas. The FBI can only operate in the United States. The CIA is not permitted to make a recruitment inside the United States. The FBI has to make the recruitment. But the CIA and the FBI hated each other so much that the CIA never told the FBI that the hijackers were in the United States. And the FBI never told the CIA that they had intelligence that the hijackers were going to use the airplanes as the weapons. Do you understand what I mean?
Yeah, of course I understand what you mean. So that information was already there.
It was there. It's that it wasn't shared.
It wasn't connected, it wasn't shared.
Right. And in fact, it wasn't until 2009 that the CIA and the FBI had compatible computer systems.
Before that, they just had to manually share.
Exactly. But they hated each other, so they didn't even do that. In 2002, when I was in Pakistan, just pushing ahead for a minute, if I wanted to write a cable, I wrote cables all day, every day. You have to inform headquarters what you're doing. But if I had to write a cable, I would say to CIA headquarters, to this office, that office, and the other office, add CC to the White House, to the State Department, to the Defense Department. I could not send a cable to the FBI. The system just couldn't handle it. It would be like me saying CC to Faisal. You don't have a CIA computer. You can't receive this cable. The FBI couldn't receive the cable. And similarly, the FBI could only send cables to other FBI offices. They couldn't send it to anybody else.
So there was a gap in communications.
A terrible one, a deadly one. A deadly one that resulted in the murder of 3,000 Americans in one day.
Mossad, were they involved?
My own personal belief is yes. Not necessarily in a direct way. We've all heard the story of the dancing Israelis.
Yeah.
They were arrested and they were held for
So for context, for the listener.
Yeah. So there was a van load of Israeli citizens that were arrested in New York City several days before 9/11. They were taking pictures of the World Trade Center. But they were doing it in this odd way and taking pictures of other sensitive targets in lower Manhattan. It's not a crime to take pictures in the United States. And so they were eventually released. They were all Israeli citizens. And they kept saying, we're the good guys. We're the good guys. We're Israelis. We're with you. They were released. But then on 9/11, there was a larger group of Israeli citizens who were dancing in the streets, right? Because we had been attacked. Now, they knew, the reason why they were dancing is because they knew how the United States would react.
So they were celebrating the reaction.
They were celebrating the reaction. We're going to go out and we're going to kill 1 million Muslims, which is exactly what happened. The number may be 2 million if you count in Afghanistan. If you count in Iraq. And so they were arrested and they were held for 100 days. Now, many of them had direct ties to the Israeli government. That has led me to believe that the Israelis were not involved with Al-Qaeda in the planning, but I believe the Israelis had infiltrated Al-Qaeda. They knew that the attack was coming. They knew that would be good for Israel, and so they allowed the attack to happen. And every time we would ask the Israelis, do you know anything about this group? They would say, no, we don't know anything. Of course they knew. The Israelis are the best intelligence service in the world.
Are they better than the CIA?
I think they are, yeah. They're certainly deadlier.
What do you mean?
You know, in the CIA, we have laws that are not always respected, but we have pretty clear laws on assassinations. Between 1975 and September 11th, 2001, it was illegal for the CIA to assassinate anybody. And it's because the CIA used to assassinate all kinds of people before 1975, killing world leaders, overthrowing governments. We had to stop that. And so 1975, President Gerald Ford signed Executive Order 12333. And it said, you cannot kill people, period. A couple of days after September 11th, President Bush amended 12333 to allow political assassinations if the target of the assassination poses what is called a clear and present danger to the United States. And what's that mean?